Your AI, my shell. What does that even mean? Well, today we're breaking down a new kind of threat, a really sneaky one that hides inside the very AI tools we're all starting to love and rely on. We're going to dig into how the trust we put into these AI agents can be flipped on its head and used as a weapon against us.
Okay, so how on earth can a single tiny configuration file give a hacker complete control over a million different codebases? I mean, that sounds completely insane, right? Like something out of a movie. But here's the thing. This isn't a what if. It actually happened. And we're going to unpack exactly how a simple text file became the key to what could have been a massive supply chain disaster.
All right, let's get right into it. We're going to start with a real-world story, a case study called the Code Rabbit incident. This isn't just theory, folks. This is a breakdown of how a really clever attack goes down in the real world.
So the crazy thing about this attack is how simple it was. Here's the play-by-play. First, the attacker creates what looks like a totally normal pull request on GitHub. But, and this is the key part, they sneak in a malicious configuration file. In this case, it was a .rubocop.yml file. Now, the AI agent from CodeRabbit, which is supposed to help review code, sees this file. It thinks, oh, I need to read this to understand the project's rules. But hidden inside that file are secret instructions. The AI, just trying to do its job, reads the file and boom, it blindly executes the attacker's hidden commands, leading to our final step, the production secrets and private keys get stolen, just like that.
And this is where it gets really, really scary. What did those commands do? Well, they didn't just crash a server or anything like that. No, they went straight for the jackpot. They siphoned out the system's environment variables. And sitting right there in plain text was the holy grail, the private key for CodeRabbit's entire GitHub app. With that one key, the attacker had read and write access to every single repository. I'm talking public and private that had this tool installed. We're talking about 1 million codebases. Just wide open. So you're probably wondering, how does a sophisticated AI get tricked so easily? I mean, isn't it supposed to be smart? And that question, it gets right to the heart of how these new tools actually work. This hack, as simple as it was, pulls back the curtain on a much deeper, more fundamental vulnerability in the way we're building AI systems. Let's dig in. First thing to get our heads around is that we're not talking about your average chatbot that just answers questions. We're talking about something called agentic AI. Think of it this way. These are AIs with agency. They have the power to actually do things. They can run commands, access your files, talk to other systems on the network. This power is exactly what makes them so incredibly useful, right? But it's a double-edged sword because it's also what makes them so incredibly dangerous. Okay, so this is where we need to make a really important distinction. You might have heard of prompt injection. A direct prompt injection is when you trick an AI by typing something malicious right into its chat window, like telling it to ignore its previous instructions. But the CodeRabbit attack, that was way sneakier. It was an indirect prompt injection. The attacker didn't talk to the AI at all. Instead, they hid the malicious instructions in a file, that config file, that the AI was already programmed to read and trust. It's like slipping poison into someone's morning coffee. The AI just ingested it as part of its normal routine, completely unaware it was being attacked. The security researchers who looked into this came up with the perfect phrase to describe it. Your AI, my shell. It's brilliant. What it means is the attacker hijacks your trusted AI agent, this tool you've invited into your system, and turns it into their own personal command line, their shell. Suddenly, they're operating deep inside your infrastructure, using your own tools against you. Now, it's super important to understand that this CodeRabbit thing, it's not a one-off. It's not some isolated incident. It's actually a perfect example of a much bigger and, frankly, more troubling pattern of attacks. These attacks all exploit the fundamental web of trust that all modern software is built on. I mean, just look at the pattern here. You've got the CodeRabbit hack, which we just talked about, using that indirect prompt injection. Then there was something called SHA-1 2.0. In that one, attackers hid malicious scripts inside popular software packages on NPM to steal developer credentials right from their machines. Or look at the Gainsight breach. They abused OAuth tokens from a third-party app that everyone trusted to get into Salesforce data. You see the pattern? The vector is always a trusted connection. So the theme here is crystal clear. The old days of attackers trying to bash down the front door with a battering ram are, well, they're not gone, but there's a new game in town. Now they're finding a key that you left under the mat. That key might be an AI agent, a third-party app, a software library you downloaded, and they just unlock the door and walk right in.
They are abusing the very connections and integrations that make our digital world work. Okay, so this whole security nightmare, believe it or not, it's actually a symptom of a much, much bigger problem that's happening inside big companies. It actually helps explain why so many AI projects that seem super promising on paper are just failing. They never even get off the ground. Check this out. 95%. Let that sink in. According to some studies, that's the failure rate for big corporate AI pilot projects. And here's the kicker. It's not usually because the AI models themselves are bad. The problem is that the journey from a cool demo to a reliable system that you can actually depend on, well, that journey is an absolute minefield. So let's talk about trap number 1. It's a little something called dumb RAG. RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, but here's what it means in practice. Companies get all excited about AI, and they just dump everything into it. We're talking entire company wikis, years of documents, a flood of emails. They just throw it all into the AI's context window. The result? The AI completely drowns in this ocean of irrelevant, unstructured, and often conflicting information. And what happens when an AI drowns? It starts to hallucinate, making stuff up with this scary level of confidence. And then there's trap number 2, brittle connectors. This is what happens when you try to connect one of these shiny new AI agents to a messy old real-world enterprise system. You know the kind, the ones with thousands of weird custom fields, undocumented APIs, strange rate limits. It's just chaos. The AI has no map for this mess. It's like dropping it in a foreign city with no directions. The connection is super fragile, it breaks all the time, and you absolutely cannot rely on it for any serious business. So if the problems aren't just about the AI model itself, then the solution can't be either. We've been so focused on making the AI brain smarter, but maybe that's the wrong approach. We need to stop focusing only on the brain and start thinking about building a proper support system around it. And Dre Karpathy, who is just brilliant, absolutely nailed it with this quote. He said, "We have a powerful new kernel, the LLM, but no operating system to run it properly." Think about it like a car engine. We've built this incredibly powerful V12 engine. That's the large language model. But we're trying to run it with no chassis, no steering wheel, no brakes, no dashboard. We're missing the entire operating system for the car. This really brings it home. The solution isn't just a bigger, better AI brain. It's about building a better nervous system to connect that brain to the real world. You have to ask the right questions. How does the AI get clean, relevant information to think with? How can it take actions in the real world safely and securely? How do we, as humans, govern its decisions and see what it's doing? That is the huge missing piece of the puzzle. So what would this AI operating system even look like? Well, it would be built on a few key pillars. First, you'd need context precision. That means smart memory management, not just dumping a fire hose of data on the AI. Second, you'd need robust governance. We're talking clear permissions, and for really important stuff, approvals from a human, a real human in the loop. Third, managed connectors. Those brittle connections we talked about? Nope. You need reliable, resilient ways for the AI to talk to other systems. And finally, observability. You need to be able to see what your AI is doing. Detailed audit logs, monitoring, the whole shebang. You can't manage what you can't see. So, I want to leave you with this final thought. AI agents aren't science fiction anymore. They're here. They're being deployed right now. And the most critical question we need to be asking isn't just, wow, what cool things can they do? The real question is, how do we protect them? And just as importantly, how do we protect ourselves from them? Because if we're going to give these agents the power to act in our world, we have an absolute responsibility to give them an immune system to help them survive in it.